Hello, everyone. It is Old Roommates. This week on the show, Purple Rain, starring, of course, Prince. So let's go crazy. Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. I'm Brian.
I'm Christina.
Christina, are we side by side how you're looking?
So we are side by side,
Okay.
and the way I'm looking, you are on my left.
I'm like a little box because I don't have the three dots anymore. It doesn't matter, but it's fine.
Are you on your phone?
Yeah.
So if you swipe?
I'm afraid to swipe the other way because I'm afraid of...
Oh.
Yeah, see, that's why. All right, I'm going to leave it. It's fine. But you should see my setup right now because I truly have two pillows, the Kathleen Turner memoir, Send Yourself Roses.
Oh my gosh.
On top of that is the Celine Dion CD, Courage. Keeping it all up is the pop filter box with a giant pillow propping it all up, like leaning towards me. One false move and it's goodbye, Purple Rain.
Well, yeah, I mean, so because once again, we are recording via Zoom.
Social distancing, yeah.
Or social distancing, so we are making the best of what we have. Hopefully we have the audio a little bit better than in the past few episodes. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I'm set up in the same situation. I'm on my I'm at my desk. I have like this beautiful sheet behind me for not only for ambiance, but also just for sound. And I have things all propped up all over the place. Like I have puzzles underneath my computer. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Things we do for our listeners.
Absolutely. So Purple Rain. How are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
We're on week 4 or something now?
Yeah,
I don't even know. Like I looked it up and I'm like, really? That's all it was? It feels like a lot longer. We're adjusting. We're coping. We, next week starts April vacation for Emily. So it'll be a little different, which is nice. Like just a little different. I don't know what we're going to do that's different aside from her not doing schoolwork, but we'll try to plan some fun things. But we're making do.
Yeah.
Making do. What about you, Brian?
Do you find yourself acclimating or are you like over it? I mean, we have no choice. At the end of the day, you have no choice, but like...
You don't have a choice. Yeah. I feel like the expectations change daily. So I think at the beginning, everyone was sort of thinking, oh my gosh, we're home. We need to be super productive. We need to, do all those projects that we've been wanting to do all of our lives. And now we finally have time to do it. And there was a lot of pressure there to be productive. And I think that's sort of gone away a little bit, at least for me. And I'm just sort of taking care of us day to day and making sure we're staying well mentally, because it is so overwhelming, and I'm not overly concerned with, oh my gosh, is Emily, keeping up on her academics? Like I'm more concerned with her feeling secure and happy with what is going on in the world right now. So, we're just sort of taking it day to day and seeing how we're all feeling. Sometimes we need alone time. Sometimes we need some family time and play games or whatever, but try to keep it as normal as we can.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see in 20 years if it worked. When I get the therapy bills.
Oh my gosh.
How about you, Brian? You seem like you're doing better.
Yeah. I'm going to say, luckily, Emily likes school.
Yeah.
Right? And she likes learning and studying and, and all that. So I think that works obviously in your favor and in her favor. Sure. But it'll be nice to have like that time off for April vacation. Yeah, I'm doing a lot better. At the same time, I do miss socialization. I miss like hanging out with friends. I miss even being at the office. I really miss that actually. And I kind of knew that in the first week. I was like, oh, I usually talk to a bunch of people. Now I only talk to a couple. But I think I'm getting a little bit better, a little more like accepting of stuff. We got our face masks in, and I'm just curious to see how this is all going to shake out. Like, because I don't think it's going to be a snap and suddenly everything's back to normal. I don't know if we should be back to normal. I mean, it's like, but it just makes you wonder what the next 6 months are going to look like, and how that, will we have to be wearing, face masks in our offices? It's like, you just don't know. So, but I think a bit of that anxiety has subsided. And now, to your point, it is about kind of just wellness and like staying mentally with it. But also, I recommend this. I was talking to some friends yesterday about like just like revisiting, tying it back to the podcast. But it's like, we watch the Golden Girls every night at dinner, and it's something that gives me like such comfort. It's like that familiarity and that nostalgia, and that just like those, like, I encourage people, it really makes a difference to watch like your favorite show, from 10 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, because it just gives you a sense of normalcy. And, I think I was telling you about the donuts a couple weeks ago, and like, we got these donuts that they were just doing this like random weekend thing. And it's Need Donuts in Providence, and they're amazing. But just eating like a donut from there, which is something we used to do pretty frequently, just brought us back. And like, whether it's like, familiar tastes or things you're watching or music, just like do what you need to do to bring some level of normalcy, because we're living in very unusual times, and you need that support, however you can get that support.
Truly.
Legally. So 1984, Purple Rain, Christina, 1984. When was the first time you saw this movie?
I was definitely in the movies when I saw it.
Oh, really?
I am and was a huge Prince fan. Huge.
I know that. Sorry, we have a mutual friend, Naomi. Naomi's the biggest Prince fan ever. I didn't know that you were.
Yeah, I love Prince. Always have. Always will. In fact, what's so strange about Prince, so normally celebrities don't really affect me. Like, I don't really put them up on that pedestal. I don't, I also feel like I don't know them. So like if something bad happens to them, if they die or whatever, usually I'm not affected. I will tell you, I was affected 2 times in my life by a celebrity passing away. Actually 3, now that I'm thinking about it. Oops. 3. One was Karen Carpenter. Because it was so tragic, and I was really young when she died, and it was a very tragic death. The second was Freddie Mercury, and mostly because, again, I was a big fan, and I knew his story on like more of a personal level about what he was struggling with. For some reason, I kind of knew what was happening, and when he died, it really, really affected me. And the third was Prince, and I was really, really upset when he died, and mostly because it was shocking. I held him to a higher level in terms of like, he wouldn't do that to himself. He respects himself too much, but clearly I was wrong about that. But also because he was just so talented, and I don't know, he went through a lot in his life. Personally, he lost a child, and he was a very private person, but it made me really upset when he passed away. I felt like really a true great person left this earth, and he had a very sad life I don't know. It affected me a lot. So anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know about his sad life, to be honest. I wasn't a major Prince fan. But when he died, I just remembered like I felt like had just been on like The New Girl, the Zooey Deschanel show.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he had done some concert stuff. I think he did like a number with Beyonce some years ago, and there's something else he did. Oh, he was on American Idol like a few years back, and that was the whole thing where he finished his number and he just walked off the stage. Like Ryan Seacrest went up to him to shake his hand, and Prince, he was just like done. He just like walked off.
And that was what he was known for. Whenever he was on any sort of late night or anything, he refused to have any kind of conversation afterwards. He just played his music and walked off. And he was kind of known for that, but yeah.
Wow. Well, it's interesting. So I have this friend who shall remain nameless that I used to work with back in New York. And he had this crazy story of how he was sitting through a variety of circumstances. He found himself at this table at an event and Prince was sitting at this table, and Adam Levine, the Maroon 5 guy,
Yeah.
right, was sitting there too with, I guess, his girlfriend. And I guess Adam Levine said the F word, and Prince was like, oh no. It was, no, he said Jesus Christ, like in frustration.
Oh, okay.
And he said, no, you don't use the Lord's name in vain, blah, blah, blah. And like allegedly banished Adam Levine from the table. And I was like, oh my God, I hope that story's true. You know, you just never know. But it's like, you just kind of like, for Prince, he's like, for such like sort of a smaller guy, and like, you know, like
tiny,
tight little guy, like he does have that aura of like, of sort of like, you know, mystical, powerful, and mysterious.
Totally.
And
Something, you know, and I think that, I think you nailed it. Mysterious.
Yeah, if he told you to get away from his table, you'd be like, sorry, okay. Like,
you totally would. Like, okay,
even
sir.
if you were like a star too, I'd be like, oh, okay, got it. Like,
yeah, he just
has that weird power.
Power, respect, or something about him that, you just, I don't know, he was just pretty cool, like really cool.
So you must have loved, back then, you must have loved Purple Rain.
I loved Purple Rain. I probably saw it a few times. I obviously had the soundtrack, and I loved that movie. I really loved that movie. Mm-hmm.
Any standout, like, scene, because you were, so 84, you were 16, 17?
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right. So I was in high school, like, you know, sophomore or something like that. And, you know, I remember loving the music. I remember really enjoying his performance. And I think, again, it's because of him being so mysterious and seeing a little bit more of him. And God Love Me, I liked the love story, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, the love story. Yes, we have a lot. We have a lot to talk about. I will say, I think I saw this for the first time on VHS, but I had the soundtrack, you know, like everyone else in the world, and I just loved the soundtrack so much. In the movie, I saw it on VHS, and I remember thinking, like, this is dark, and from like the parent stuff in particular to even just him as a person. But I was so, I think, young that I didn't really connect, like, oh yeah, you probably shouldn't like beat women, like to the point where it's like, you feel like it's like a fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that, like, in the 80s, and this is could be taken totally the wrong way, but like, I think being young, it's like, oh, they're fighting. But when you see it now, you're like, oh, this is horrific treatment of women.
Yes.
So I guess we can jump into the now. I will say that I just thought it was probably more adult and darker than I had anticipated what a Prince movie would look like. Since the songs are so like pop. It's like great rock pop, just fun kind of dance music. So you kind of expected, I think I expected a vibe, and it wasn't the vibe I was expecting to be at that age.
Especially when you see at the very beginning how it was a little strange at the beginning when they have the concert. Well, I call it concert footage. It's him playing in the club. And you see all of the people in the audience, and they're all super 80s. And they're like, they have like the weird makeup, and they're all like kind of dancing together and having so much fun. And you definitely feel like that's how the vibe would be in this sort of movie. But I do remember the dark part of it when I saw it. And I remember I was a couple years older than you when I saw it, and it might have had more of an impact because I was in the theater too. Sometimes I think that makes you a little more focused, and you know, you can't get up and get a glass of water in the middle of it or whatever. It's, you know, all encompassing. But I remember it being dark, and I remember being shocked at him slapping her and all that. But what was funny about it, what's different about now is I really did not like those scenes back then. I didn't want them to happen. I wanted them to go away. I'm like, oh no, it's a scene at home again. I don't want it to be here. I just want it to be back in the club. I want to go dancing. And but this time around, I really appreciated those scenes so much more. I felt like it was a bigger part of the movie, or it held my interest more. I felt like there was better acting in those scenes, and it was a meatier story, as opposed to when I watched it before and I was all about like the dancing and like his relationship with her. For some reason, I really liked them together. And looking at it now, like we can have a whole conversation about this relationship between them, but I mean the fact that I don't even know if they spoke 50 words together.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
How did they get? I mean, all right. I'm just gonna jump right in.
Do it. Shallow dive.
My memory of it was that they had a relationship. Looking at it now, this was not a relationship. This was like basically a glorified hookup. And what was strange to me was she's never spoken to this man before. She tried once and she turned around, he's gone, right? She sees him up on stage, she's gaga. And then the next thing you know, they're on the street and he shows up behind her, which is weird and stalkery. And he wants her gold chain that's on her boot. And she gives it to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why she would do that. I don't understand, like there's so many flaws in her that I can't even.
I have a full page titled Apollonia.
Oh.
And I just started writing things down. And this is like, and trust me, here's the truth. I want to, like when we do these revisits, I want to love it because it's our time. And like, it's like our time, it's our stuff. So it's like, I'm looking for like good. And so the fact that I have a page of why Apollonia is just a horrible character.
Terrible.
Like, she stiffs the cab driver. She goes
and she's obvious about it. Like, she's not even subtle about the fact that she's not going to pay. Like, if you're not going to pay a cabbie, pretend you're looking for money and then jump out of the cab. Don't just stand there. Give him a side look.
Yeah. And
then jump out of the cab. Like, that's so ridiculous. I mean,
also,
so stupid.
She's looking at the fare, like $34. Was she not, like, if you're penniless or if you're just broke, you're looking at that number in that cab with your heart in your throat.
Yeah, every second.
I've had those moments where you're like, oh my God, like, it's like, back in the day where you're like, okay, that can't be more than that. And if it is, you have the cab pull over and you will walk the rest of the way. Or if you're stuck in traffic and you see the meter going, like you're hyper conscious of how much money you have in a cab. Right. And so that was so overdone. But I feel like a lot of her stuff.
She was planning on stiffing him to begin with. It's not like she was going to give him $10. So what did it matter how much it was?
Well,
why would she even
then
care?
She went to that room from across the club and she like rolls her eyes at the room. It's like, who do you think you are? Also,
seriously,
she's 19. You saw that on the card, right? She might have been 19. People look different then.
I suppose.
She sneaks into the club, right? She lies to the bouncer. She just lies.
This is all she does is lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She knocks over the drinks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the blonde woman's like, hey, what are you, stupid or something? Instead of helping or like talking or like apologizing profusely, she's like, hey, where's the manager? I want a job.
Right. And then the blonde is like, okay.
I know. And she's like,
I would not give that woman a job.
It's like, here's your first job. Clean up the shit you spilled over and pay for these drinks. And she's like, I'm a pretty good singer and dancer. It's like, way to sell yourself. Pretty Seriously. Good.
And allegedly, so it's allegedly, this club was only really supposed to feature acts who would eventually make it. Like, it seemed like it was a pretty high level club to perform in. So what makes her feel like just, I'm a pretty good singer and dancer.
Yeah.
Can I go
Pretty
up on
Good's not
stage
going to
too?
cut it. And honestly, when we did see her, it's
Pretty Good was
arguable.
a gift.
Pretty Good. And
And
then,
can
so then
I
we,
just ask
oh,
too? No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
oh,
We
I
can
have
talk more about
one more
Apollonia.
thing, and then we can jump on. So the waitress says, she gives up and she gives in to Apollonia. She goes, follow me. Do you remember what Apollonia does? She takes 2 steps and stops.
It
The waitress keeps
stops.
walking and she stops and she just looks at Prince,
Yep.
who's basically doing like the final 30 seconds of his song. But
Mhm.
somehow she's obsessed and she's like, I really liked your song too. But it's like, then she does go back to the waitress. The waitress comes back to her. It's like, fill out this card. It's like, this Apollonia has done nothing that you've asked.
Nothing.
Why are you helping this girl?
Yeah. She's not the brightest bulb on the tree either.
No, yeah.
The blonde. But yeah, it's weird. It's like a weird character, like very unlikable from the very beginning, which I don't know why I was rooting for her when I first saw it when I was young. I don't know
I have
why.
a note for my now, because I agree with you. I was like, oh, she's sort of like the heart of this movie. Like back then, what I
Right.
remembered was like, oh, she's a nice girl.
Mhm.
And this time I'm like, oh, she's just a climber. Like she's a
Dirty.
user. She just wants.
She's a whore. Talentless. Her outfits.
I wrote in my notes as an adult, it's like, if you're going to do this, make Apollonia evil. Like, make her like such a double, like make her such like a 2-timer, like make her really like messy and sloppy and a double crosser. Like she'll do whatever she can to get on that stage. Right. At least give her something, because she just looks dumb.
And it was really dumb that like, you're right. They should have done something else with her, because there was no reason why they would have ever put her on the stage. She didn't even sleep with the guy first. Like it would have made more sense if she had sex with him. Right? And then she was in the group. She never auditioned for him. The only reason why he wanted her is because of her look.
Yeah.
That's it. And she's pretty, but really? That's it?
Yeah.
Like, it was so strange. And she was dumb as a stump. Dumb as a stump.
And I will argue that, the whole Prince versus Morris Day thing, which Morris Day, I'm in love. Morris Day is so good in this movie. At least Morris Day actually fucking did stuff for her.
Right.
Like Morris Day was doing stuff. He was setting her up. He got her on that stage.
Yep.
And to your point, she didn't even put out for him. And
he didn't even ask her to.
Prince treats her like dirt, and she does whatever he says.
It's so bizarre. And he never even says he's going to help her.
Not at all.
He never says he's going to help her.
And he gets mad at her for having drinks with Morris Day.
Oh my
Morris
God.
Day can actually help her. And he's like bent out of shape. It's like, you've given her nothing other than a lifetime of embarrassment and hypothermia from jumping into that cold lake.
Which, I'm sorry, but that was her fault. Like, she's an idiot.
Why did she have to be topless?
What? Seriously. What? She has leather. I suppose she didn't want to get the leather wet.
Oh, yeah. But you could have had a bra.
She met this guy 10 seconds ago.
Yeah.
They've had a short conversation where she basically gives him her allegedly valuable piece of jewelry, which because she ended up trading it in for this gorgeous guitar, right? So it had to have had some sort of value. She gives him this, then trusts him enough to go on this motorcycle ride to wherever. She has no idea where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
And he tricks her into it. And it wasn't even, I don't even blame him that much for it. She was more than willing to just jump in that lake. Like, she did not even bat an eye. She's like, oh, okay, I have to christen myself? Okay, let me take all my clothes off. And she like immediately takes her clothes off and jumps in. And then she's mad at him. Like, that's on you, lady.
100%.
Yeah.
Although he's a dick though too. If we're getting into it, like he keeps he does that to her. He keeps driving away. She's trying to get on the motorcycle. That's a huge annoyance of mine.
It was very annoying, but I remember finding it funny when I was younger. I thought it was funny. And it was funny. I thought he was cute and charming and I really liked him when I was younger. I thought he was like sexy, and I still think he's sexy, but I thought he was like sexy and charming and funny. And it's like, I remember those characteristics of him more back then. It had more weight, I guess. Whereas now when I'm watching it, the asshole part of him has more weight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh my God, he really is like a dick. Like after all he's done, but I did, I have to say I laughed out loud after all of that with her getting onto the bike, and he turns around and goes, "Don't get my seat wet." That made me laugh out loud. But anyway, like those little moments I loved back then. And now it was sort of, I'm looking at it, I'm like, boy, you're just sort of a dick. But at the same time, I'm seeing that Apollonia is so fucking stupid. Like, it's like, you deserve to be with this jerk. Like, there was no redeeming quality for her at all. I'm like, good, go ahead, get smacked. No, I'm just kidding. Not really. I didn't want her to get smacked. But there was I don't know. It was, she sort of asked for it. She kept coming back for more.
Well, here's the thing, right? Because we're both saying that we didn't really catch what a jerk he was then.
Yeah.
But here's the difference now. You learn what self-respect and dignity are as you get older. And if we are to believe she's 19 years old, then does she get a pass at, how many of us have loved a guy who's bad news? The difference
How could you love her? She's known for a week.
Well, but I'm not defending Apollonia, but it's like in a longer, more thoughtful movie, we're like, you know what? Mm-hmm. Fine. Like maybe she likes bad boys, and of course you don't learn anything about her other than she's from New Orleans. She's from New Orleans. She heard about the club and she came here. Yeah. That is her entire backstory.
Yep. That's it. Am I supposed to really be on board with her?
Okay, so here's the thing. I liked one scene with her. Maybe 1.5 scenes. The scene where he's singing The Beautiful Ones.
Oh,
and the camera song. Like pans on her and she gets emotional. It was like, she's a pretty good crier. I have to say, I believed her crying. Like, just my own personal opinion. But I didn't buy it because they barely knew each other. And
they barely knew each other. Go ahead, I'm sorry. I guess
my point is, I feel like some of this would have worked better if this was I don't necessarily love longer movies, but if this was a longer, more thoughtful, better scripted, better acted film. Because there are a lot of interesting setups to the music performances. And if they just beefed those in-between scenes up a little bit, gave people more reason, more humanity, more better words to say.
Just a couple more scenes between the two of them to have some sort of depth, some sort of deep conversation between the two of them would have worked. Mm-hmm. It's clearly a movie that was a soundtrack.
Yeah.
And let's put on a concert and throw a couple of things in between songs. That's clearly what it was. What bothered me about that, I love that song. That is one of my all-time favorite songs. It's a beautiful, beautiful song, The Beautiful Ones. What bothered me about the movie was, aside from obviously Apollonia and that relationship, was it was so convenient that whatever was going on in their relationship, he would sing a song about, basically. He's singing the emotions. And so, I am not someone that performs on stage, but I do know a little bit about it, and I do think that they need to rehearse what songs they're going to be playing and all that. And it seemed very convenient that when he sees her with Morris Day, he's singing, "Do you want him? Or do you want me? Because I want you." I'm like, oh, that's convenient. That's so lucky that she was at that table with him when you were singing that song. Or that you had that song in your back pocket to sing just in case she was at a table with him. And then, of course, when he starts singing Nikki about what a whore she is, which, I'm not going to disagree with him, but he should not be mad at her after what he did. That whole dynamic of him being mad at her, you beat her up. You overreacted and smacked her and she left and you're mad at her? I don't really understand that. But I felt it was very convenient that he had all these like songs that are like, oh, cool. Okay, I have that song about a whore. I'm mad at her. Let's sing that one now. All that. Like it was just sort of convenient how that all worked out. And I understand why.
And the band just more than happily goes along with.
Oh, sure. Yeah. They just kind of, yeah.
But I tell you, the backstage scenes,
Mm-hmm.
I kept writing my notes like, this seems like fun, like sarcastically. Like they don't speak to each other. When they do, they are arguing. Like, I'm like, how do they even hold this band together is beyond me. Because you're right. You're exactly right. Like, it's like whatever win he has. And I could see someone saying, well, that's the whole point. Like, he has to learn. Like, he learns at the end of the movie, like, about, I don't know, following your dreams, of being open to letting people into your dreams. Because he was as much as he had a band, he was very for himself.
Oh, it was all about him. It was very selfish. And I think that was, I think I agree that was sort of his growing moment, is, realizing that it's not just about him. I got the impression with the backstage conversations that this has been an issue that's been going on for a long time. And that it was getting to the point where Lisa and Wendy were like, I'm done. And of course, the guy, I don't know, I never understood why he was wearing a doctor's scrubs. Like, was that his get up? That and the other guy that I don't think even spoke. It just seemed like a very fragmented band that was not really working together. And I mean, I think that does happen. And it could have been, I think a lot of that was happening in the 80s too, like with Van Halen and things like that, like a lot of that stuff. So it didn't really bother me that much. It didn't seem very unrealistic, but it did seem like it was at a point where he was doing himself more harm by not being a part of the band, and he was kind of wanting that part of it. On a side note, I loved Lisa and Wendy.
Yes.
Love them.
Yes.
Did you know they were a real life couple for 20 years?
So I had always heard that rumor. I remember being like a young kid, and when Prince and the Revolution or whatever came out, I remember Wendy and Lisa very vividly. And I remember people saying, "Oh yeah, they're lesbians, they're gay, whatever." And but so what? And I know they kept it a secret for 20 years. And like, it wasn't that big of a secret, because I mean, how did I know? It was like,
it was one of those George Michael secrets, like not really a secret. Like, we all know, they're just not admitting it.
Yeah.
But everybody sort of knew. Well, but I didn't realize it lasted so long. I thought that was
really quick. It's a little, so you just said they didn't admit it. I do have to say, just from my own experience, that happened to me. Like, oh, you just never admitted it. And it's like, you don't really admit to your sexual orientation. It's just part of you. I would just don't want anyone young.
I agree with what you're saying as a commoner, but as a celebrity, and so if someone's asking you, I think like answering the question is sort of admitting it. Like, we know that you're gay. Are you gay? Yes or no? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying
I guess
as a person you're admitting it to yourself or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying as a celebrity, if people are writing about it and talking about it and, asking you about it and you're not saying it, I think that's more or less what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's so tricky. I mean, back then, to say you're gay, it's the George Michael conversation that we had before. It's like, it's it was a challenging time.
Very.
I will say one huge thing. So I'm going to say this before, in case you have any huge fans of this movie. I actually liked it more now. I actually saw this movie twice in 1 week, like 3.5, 4 years ago in Brooklyn. They did 2 different parks, did movies in the park, and I went to both of them just because I was with different friends. And my friend Allison, who she went both times, and like we were just like, we're like, I can't believe we're seeing this movie again. Because we had both openly hated Prince's character, but those concert scenes are so incredible, and the sound and the style and the movement and the dance, like every single number is like, I feel like like electrifying. Like, it's like it's.
You felt like you were at the concert.
Absolutely.
And I was lucky. Sorry, good.
No, I was saying they propel the movie. They're so well done.
Right. And it's like I said, I'm like, I really wanted to just get back into the club and watch the more performances. I was lucky enough to see Prince in concert when he was alive. And it was like, you can't even describe it. Like what you see on stage.
What part in the career did you see him?
It was Sign of the Times.
Oh, wow. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. And we actually got free tickets. So it was even better. And what was, and the other thing too, the thing about Prince, and this is another reason why I love him so much. He always had like this problem with like the record label. So remember he had changed his name to a symbol.
Right.
So that was because of a conflict that he had with like the record companies and, whatever. But one of the things that he did when he performed, when he put on a concert, he didn't feel like the people who were paying all that money to see a concert should also have to pay for his CD. And he gave out CDs to every single person that came and went into the concert. So as you're walking through the gate, they handed out CDs. So again,
that's really nice.
Yeah, he was such a like for the people kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so what were we saying? Yeah.
So so all that, I love the musical numbers and all that. I will say there's a big flaw in this movie, and I think I'm right about this. If please disagree if you feel differently. So the idea is his enemies, like the Time, Morris Day and the Time, and even that guy, Billy. He's like, they say the same thing over and over. They're like, he's playing songs no one wants to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say another time, I wrote it down. God. Oh, Jesus. Oh, no one digs your music but yourself. Here's the problem.
Right.
It's the Purple Rain soundtrack.
Right.
So are we are we liking bad music? Because then what happens is he does Purple Rain at the end and there's this big turning point. But what are all the other songs? Are the other songs supposed to be bad? It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, and it didn't make sense to me back then either, because I felt like everyone was enjoying his performances. And I certainly did. The only thing I can think is maybe they assumed that the audience would be on Prince's side and be like, oh, you're an asshole for feeling like this music's bad. Like, I don't know, like maybe feeling like we would back Prince up, like as an audience, which I do. I'm like, he did go. So the other part that was a little bit off was, again, like you just getting so emotional with the music and, going off. So like, obviously like the Nicki number was a bit raunchy, and just kind of going off on his guitar so much. So, and it's not necessarily dancey when he's doing like the guitar solos and things. So maybe that's what they were talking about, because it was a dance club and Morris Day was super dancey.
Yeah.
Right. So that's all I could think of. But I mean, I disagreed with them then, and I disagree now.
True, because even that other random band, what was the song? Millionaire? What was the song called?
Terrible song. I have that down as one of my huge negatives, like millionaire, like, oh.
It was the one word, but they had a dance to it. The audience knew they all did the dance.
Dance thing, yeah.
I did love when Morris Day is training the girl group. And he's like, I want to see some asses wiggling. I want some perfection. Oh my God.
He was a riot.
Thank God. Thank God.
He was good.
Imagine this movie without Morris Day.
Yeah.
It would be such a downer.
Well, because, and it was interesting how they casted that too. And I appreciated how they casted that, because they could have, because they were supposed to be rivals, right? They were supposed to be, whatever. He was like the big villain or whatever. But they made him into such a likable, funny, kind of goofy character.
Yeah.
It was like, you didn't like him, because of a couple things, and he was definitely raunchy or whatever. But it was good. It was like he really breathed life into that movie. He lightened it up. Because if he was another villain, like a downy, like a very like kind of mean villain, then where would the relief be for us as an audience watching? Everything is so dark, like you said, like his relationship with Apollonia, his parents, even in the club. I mean, although the music's good, it's a dark atmosphere. It's still dark and crowded and hot. It feels hot and so having him cast as the villain was fantastic. I really loved it. He was a riot. He made me laugh. And I even liked that moment when when you really see a different side of him, when he's walking backstage after everything went down with Prince's dad, and he's like, how's the family? Right? And everybody busts out laughing.
Including
and you're like,
me.
holy shit, what an asshole. And then you see him like really feeling like shit for saying that.
Yeah.
And I liked that they showed that 2-second scene of him just sitting there feeling bad about it.
Because the thing is, I feel like he is a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's as driven as Apollonia in Prince, or as the kid, as they say. But it's like, he has very clear things, and he wants better things. Like when he's like, keep the change. And he's like, Jerome, get my change.
Go get my change.
Like, and just like the thing with like,
Not the woman that like attacks him on the street.
Oh my God.
And she's like screaming at him, like, blah, 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 you're an asshole, blah, blah, blah. And then he's just like, Jerome. And he just picks her up and throws her in a dumpster. I'm like, oh my God.
Jerome is MVP. I want a Jerome in my life where I can be like, Jerome, mirror. And Jerome just like brings a mirror up on stage, and he's like, oh my God.
And that's his whole job, is just to be his like ball girl.
And he loves it.
Yeah.
Jerome loves his job.
He's a good
and
dancer.
Like he is. And I love when Morris is like in the car and something happens with the window. Or he goes to he rolls down his window.
Trying to roll it down. Yeah, it's stuck. He's trying to talk to Apollonia all cool. Yeah. And the window gets stuck.
Yeah. So funny. And I love like he got out of the car with his shoes like 2 at a time. I mean, just there's a lot of funny detail with Morris Day in this character. Really good. So funny. I really, really, really appreciated him in this.
And pretty believable as a promoter too, right? Like he just seems like someone that would be like a club promoter.
Because he understands, I think with maybe the kid, like it's like he understands like image and success and like this showiness of like being, say, a star. And like there's something that's comfortable about him. Like I don't know, I thought it was great. I loved his interactions with Apollonia, and he also does something, and a huge pet peeve of this, we've talked about this on many episodes. I don't like when characters are in a loud club and they're talking quietly. Like Morris Day actually raised his voice when the music would get loud, and Apollonia didn't. So it was a little weird. And like, but I'm like, why didn't the director say, guys, you're in a loud club, talk louder?
Yeah, at least you can act like you're talking louder.
Yeah.
You can not talk louder, but act
it's
like
called acting.
Yeah.
I mean, like, but we saw that with Pretty in Pink, Some Kind of Wonderful. We've seen it in other movies too, where it's like they're having a totally normal conversation in a loud club.
And usually right in front of the band too. Usually they're in like that first seat in front of the band.
Best seats in the house. And it's like, I know it's so petty, and I'm like, but I will say it every time I see it. It's like, you can do better. Like, it's like, it's such an obvious thing for me. Let's see. At one point I just wrote, the kid sucks. He's rude to Wendy and Lisa. He does one song and he walks off. He's very mouthy. Oh, not only does he smack her, in another scene, he throws her on the concrete.
Oh my God.
He throws her on the ground.
Crazy. He like cups her face. He cups her face and pushes her to the ground.
Yeah.
And then we're supposed to feel okay about that because he almost hits her and stops. Right? I'm like, he must be a good guy now. He just pushed her to the ground.
Insane.
Yeah.
Hey, does he ever apologize to her?
No. And this is my problem with this whole freaking relationship. Brian, it is so backwards. She is so stupid. He is so abusive and like messed up. And she just keeps coming back. He never apologizes. He smacks her in the face, right? And first of all, she buys him a guitar. She doesn't have any money, and she doesn't have enough money to pay for a cab. She doesn't have a job yet. All she has of value is that stupid thing she puts around her boot that she's willing to give to some guy she met 5 seconds ago.
Yeah.
She somehow gets it back. She pawns that for this beautiful electric guitar that Prince can't afford because he's staring at it longingly, although he has a pretty good gig in this very successful club. So he can't buy it himself, so it must be pretty expensive. She buys it for him after what? Nothing. He beats on her. She comes back for more, basically. He sings about her to the world about what a whore she is. And then she is all forgiving again. And she like runs up on, she's performing on stage and she shows him, oh, I still have your bracelet. I mean, your earring. Look, I have your earring. I'm forgive you. I love you. She's an idiot. And he is nothing but abusive. Never says sorry. And then even the next scene, he ends up like throwing her to the ground. Like, I don't understand any of it. I don't know why they are together. I don't think they should be together.
He throws her on the ground, and I believe, and God, correct me if I'm wrong, the next time we see her, because there's a stretch where we don't see her, and does Purple Rain, right? And he's walking backstage down the line of people cheering his name. And there she is with tears streaming down her eyes.
Yep, I'm ready to forgive you. That's basically what she's saying. But
why would she have to forgive him for anything?
Exactly.
And then she kisses him, or he kisses her, and tears streaming down her face. And then 3 minutes later, he runs back on stage, and there she is smiling and dancing. I'm like, she recovered quickly. She bounced back.
It's such a messed up relationship. And then you see them in his house, and he's organizing the paper, the music, and throws his earring back to her, and she catches on. Oh, so happy together. I'm like, oh my God, it is so messed up. Are we supposed to believe that because he wrote this song, which he didn't write, but because he performed this song and his father, shot himself, are we supposed to believe that he's not going to be abusive now? Is that what cured him? It's bizarre.
Oh God, I'm going to hell.
Boy.
Did you, when the mother says, "You never let me have any fun," I laughed.
Yeah.
She was
problematic.
I did laugh. Oh God, there was something else I laughed at that was really inappropriate.
When he comes running in, sorry, I remember that from before. He actually has that. I think that scene is actually in Let's Go Crazy music video, where he comes running in to save his mother. And he's sort of he kind of falls in. Yeah. Do you remember that? It's a weird thing to have kept in the movie.
The other part I laughed at is it's all the big fight, right, has happened. His dad's taken away. He trashes the room, and he's sitting on the steps, and he sees rope in the corner. And it was like, rope, his face, rope, his face, rope. I started laughing. It reminded me of like this a Simpsons episode where like Homer is like looking at something, and he's like, donut face. Yeah. And I'm like,
need to happen more than once or twice, right? It's like enough.
Well, also, then they show him hanging from a rope. I'm like, we could have figured it out.
Right. You didn't.
I didn't think he was.
Again, I don't really love that force feeding of stuff. Yeah, that was definitely. Yeah, we got it.
What else?
I don't know. Let's take a break.
Let's take a break. Yeah.
We can revisit what our notes and all that. So
cool.
I'm gonna press pause here. Hold on.
All right.
All right. We will be right back.
It says recording.
Still saying. And we're back.
talking about Purple Rain, the 1984 blockbuster. Was made for $7 million. It made $72 million.
Isn't that amazing? That's
huge hit.
Crazy.
So any final thoughts, Christina?
So I was looking through my notes for the first time since we started this conversation, and there were a couple things I wanted to mention. Number one is that sex scene between them was unbelievable. It was like the most graphic sex scene without, it didn't have any.
They were fully clothed.
They're fully clothed, but the way he reaches around, he has to have been rubbing her. Like, there's no way he avoided that vagina.
Allegedly, there are 3 versions of that
really?
scene. Yeah, because they use different intensity, different. Yeah,
it was like, I remember even back then, like, holy moly.
It's an awkward thing because it's very full on.
It's just, there's no avoiding it.
Right, the camera doesn't move, and the hands are very obvious where they're going, and it's
really graphic, really. Yeah, I wouldn't want to watch that.
You said graphic. No. But it's like, but they're not. There's no nudity. I don't think
there's no nudity, but it is very graphic. So figure that one out. So, and my other thing was that I appreciated. I think I touched on this a little bit at the beginning of the episode, but I have to say, I really appreciated how they handled how complex an abusive relationship is during this movie. How there's so many different emotions involved with the guilt and the I'm sorry and the I love you, and on both counts from the mother and the father. And it really, I think it does a really good job of not just making him into a monster. He is obviously, an abusive, awful person, but he also has like these really beautiful scenes of him just being so tormented about it. And I felt like that was they did a really nice job of depicting that.
Tormented is definitely a good word. And also, I've seen, that whole thing of like what you said, like the I love yous, because at one point he says, I would die for you. And the father says that, and it, that is pretty typical with people that are like abusive.
Yeah.
It's like, it's somehow it's all in their incapacity to love, or they think they're not loved enough in return. And I think like when he's playing at the piano, he lies to Prince, or he lies to the kid and says, oh, I don't write down my music. That's the difference between me and you. Like, meaning that he just like that it's just all within him, and he's like this genius, but he's written every note.
But he's just a human being. He's just human, like everybody else.
So it's deep. I know what you mean. I think I do think it's tough because, to your point, when he runs in that house, the first time we meet his parents, they're fighting him, and he's clearly hitting her. And I think that's a hard thing to jump to go back from, because it's like because you meet him and he's physically beating, abusing his wife, he's the bad guy. And so to me, when I was younger, I was not super interested in getting to know any more about him. And what you said, you didn't want to be in that house. You wanted to be back at the club. Same.
Definitely.
So that was, I agree. I think there's, as an adult now, it's like I certainly don't completely understand those types of relationships, but I think the movie was trying to tell a deeper story.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with the complexity of it.
Yeah,
and just
I don't know if it quite succeeded, to be honest. I think I disagree a little bit, but I appreciate that they tried to, I don't know, to make it a little deeper.
The other thing is, I forgot that he lived. I forgot that the father lived.
Oh, you thought he died?
Yeah,
I remember that he lived.
He died.
Yeah.
Because then it was like I kind of gave more meaning to like I would die for you, like, I guess.
Yes.
Sort of.
I will say that Prince, in terms of, we haven't talked about Prince's acting, I thought he was pretty good.
I thought he was great.
Right? And like,
I thought it was really good.
For what he had to do and everything, I was like, he's a good actor, and he does a really good job when there's a lot of scenes where he has to just sit there and think about something. I believed every thinking moment.
Me too. I thought he was definitely he was really good in this movie. And maybe it was just glaring because Apollonia was so bad, but I thought he was great. I thought he had a lot to work with. And you're right, he had a lot of those scenes where he's just sitting and thinking, and I thought he was very effective.
Yeah, same.
Lots of emotion.
I guess my final positive, my final real note is like that final number, the Purple Rain, is just so cinematic, so gorgeously shot. The sound, the style. It's really amazing.
It's a beautiful song. Yeah. And I love how they tease it all throughout the whole movie. You hear the first few, measures of it. And then it's beautiful when he starts playing the piano to it. Like, it's just like, I love it so much. And then when they finally do the actual performance of it, it's so rewarding. And I agree. You're really captivated by the whole performance, I think. And it kind of ruins it when you see Apollonia, actually.
I will say, speaking of Apollonia, so originally it was supposed to be Vanity. I think you knew that, right?
Yeah.
And then Vanity dropped out. They said maybe allegedly it was because like they had broken up.
Yeah.
And then Prince wanted Jennifer Beals. And Jennifer Beals was like, no, thanks, I'm going to go to Yale. So Jennifer Beals went to college. Smart move.
Yes.
Because imagine not going to Yale so you could be this Apollonia character.
Oh, bad.
But and then I think everyone knows that. Oh, it won an Oscar for an award that doesn't exist anymore. It won for Best Original Song Score. And I think it's what you're saying. It's that Purple Rain melody that's played throughout the movie, and so apparently there was an award at one point, and it was the last year it was given. So it actually is an Oscar-winning film. The original title of this movie was called.
It was something dumb.
Dreams.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I think that was a great decision to change the title.
Now, did you also? I'm sorry.
And then the only other thing I have is this soundtrack was #1, which seems unbelievable, for 6 months. #1 album in the country for 6 months.
I remember that. I remember it being incredible. Like that was right up there with like Thriller. You know what I mean? Like it was really an amazing album. And it was an album back then too, by the way. I say that a lot, but it really was an album. My other note that I had learned about this is that song Darling Nikki. That was actually the catalyst of Tipper Gore putting parental guidance or advisory stickers. And I remember that too. I remember being so mad that they were putting these stickers on these CDs and albums and everything. But yeah, that one song was what really put her over the edge, apparently.
Wow. Which means she enjoyed it.
She obviously. She had a magazine.
It gave her feelings. It made her
feel feelings she probably hadn't felt in a long time.
Are we ready for questions?
I'm ready for questions, yeah.
All right, so I have a true match game.
Okay.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
It doesn't matter. I have an FMK.
All right, so we'll go. I guess I can go first.
Okay.
Apollonia is so clueless.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I was almost going to do a question like this, but okay, go ahead.
Do you have a question?
Oh, sorry. How clueless was she?
Thank you for asking. She is so clueless. Recently, she studied for a blank test.
Do you want me to write it down?
Yeah. Ding.
Ding. We have to write it down, but I have a good answer. Okay.
All right. Apollonia is so clueless. Recently, she even tried studying for a blank test.
A you see it?
Pregnancy.
Pregnancy test.
And I said, pregnancy.
Oh my gosh, we're so good. So good. That's funny. I love it. I almost was going to say IQ test, but that makes sense. So, all right. So my FMK for you, Brian.
Yes.
We have the kid.
Yeah, of course.
Prince.
Yeah.
We have Morris Day.
Yeah.
And we have Jerome.
Oh my God. You're being so nice to me.
I know. I thought that was a pretty good one.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh. We should have played some music.
I know.
What are we thinking?
I don't know.
Too late now.
Do you already have it written down what you think I'm going to say?
Yes.
Oh my God, this is tougher than I thought. I can't believe I'm doing this. I don't even know if this is how I feel. It's my first instinct.
Well,
although it took long enough.
You're not going to have to worry. Like, we're not really going to have to make this choice. So you can just relax a little bit.
Okay, here I go.
Okay.
I would really marry Jerome.
Okay.
Because he's always there, a great support system. He's funny, cute, the whole package. And this is where things get tricky.
Yeah.
I think if we're talking about characters,
right,
I would think I would kill the kid and an F Morris Day.
That's exactly what I thought you would say. 100%. 100%. For me, it would be switched Morris Day and Prince for the F and K. I'd kill Morris Day.
Oh wow!
Because I think that Prince would be amazing. Truth be told, I think that he would be amazing. So, yeah. So
good
I guess.
Times.
All right, here we go. Hold on. All right, so that's our episode.
Yes.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
And definitely check us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And thank you so much for listening and or watching if you're watching this on YouTube. Christina, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, Brian. Take care, everyone. Stay home. Stay safe.
Stay well.